Welcome back to another amazing episode of Beyond the Score podcast. As usual, your co-host Harry is here, and Josh, why don't you say hi to not only me, but to the hundreds of people that are watching us? What just happened there? Honestly, that's a great picture of him. That's a great smile. Can we clip that? Can we save that picture?
Oh man, I thought he was genuinely just like giving us a smile because he was like,
I mean, he probably was, and then all of a sudden it just kind of went poop. But we should definitely save that because that is an amazing picture. And
yeah, screenshot smile real quick.
I hear you again.
Oh, that was so great. Perfect timing, honestly. Because after I was done saying what I was about to say, I was going to say, all right, we got to figure out what just happened. No idea what just happened, but I will say, when you froze, you froze on such an elegant picture of yourself.
Oh, no, we took this picture. Really? We got to put it.
I will say, it might be the greatest smile I've ever seen Josh Weil ever make in his life. I mean, it was literally perfect.
That's cool to freeze on.
Ben, I'm hoping you sent that to him.
I can't send it to him right now, but after the show, I will send it to him.
So then,
wait, Harry, so you like froze to smile with that frozen picture?
Yes, because it was just I wanted to take a picture of that. It was so great. It was literally an amazing picture.
That's fantastic. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the love.
It was great, and we're glad to have you back. And we didn't have to reboot anything. And some ways technology works in mysterious ways, so that's what happens. I would say. I don't trust technology. That's why I don't try to involve myself in things that I don't understand. And I let other people who know more about it deal with it, like Ben and you and other people, because I'd rather not. I'd rather not put myself in that position of stress. It's just the easiest way to put it.
It's fair. I mean, you as long as you know about the things you use, it doesn't really matter about the things you don't use that regularly.
I guess, I could use this. I could use my iPad, my computer. I could log into Netflix and do a couple of things there. Gets the job done for me.
Can you use the technology that you need to use at work?
Yes, that's
all that matters.
Not all of it. Definitely not all of it. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like, everyone knows the app Canva. I can't use that app.
Yeah.
It's a great app for editing, for social media, for people. Yeah. I cannot. Now, one of my colleagues told me that they're like, you got to use the website. It's better than the app. And I've downloaded the app. And I wasn't able to get it done from there, but
you were just like, nah, you ain't. You
know the app, I just couldn't figure it out. I was like, how am I supposed to do what I want to do with this app? That's going to charge me $15 a month versus an app the website that's free. So I'm going to try out the website and see how that goes, and hope that I can figure out some of my technological deficiencies because it would definitely help in life.
If you ever need.
I know you're good. You've always been very good with the tech. That's why you're a league manager in so many leagues. It's just easy for you to be able to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially now we're doing a dynasty football league today. Yeah, well, listen, love has to go around.
Normally I turn on the Zoom and it's like, oh, this guy.
Oh, well, let me tell you something. I was very excited to see your handsome haircut. Looks great. Looks clean. The beard looks wonderful. I don't know whoever your barber is, but you got to compliment him because he's doing an excellent job.
I appreciate you, man.
Well, we have a full day of sports talk, but we're going to talk mostly just baseball because every other sport is not going on right now. And
I just put one thing out there.
Okay.
Happy birthday, babe.
Oh, that's nice. Happy birthday, Carrie. Hope you enjoy your 21st birthday and you're nice and young and you don't age after the age of 21, basically, is the mentality that I have at least. Because why would you? Why count? What's the point, right? At 20, okay, I'm 21. I'm old enough to do everything. That's it. Okay? Yeah. You could be 78 years old. I'm 21.
It's important to know for forms, but you don't really have to talk about it.
Yeah, just remember the date of birth for legal reasons, but other than that, 21.
You are what you feel. I feel you.
Right.
For sure.
Exactly. So happy birthday, Carrie.
Now we could go back to
enjoy, and I hope you guys have a great evening tonight and go get some good dinner. And I don't know if the girls are going to be with you, but either way, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And let's get into some baseball talk here.
Absolutely.
Paul Skeens is one of the most dynamic pitchers we've ever seen. And he's only pitched probably a season's worth of starts so far in his career. It's no question. Everybody knows how exceptional he is. He's got one of the greatest arms. Yeah. He's got an electric fastball. And he makes hitters look like they're children out there sometimes.
Real.
It's kind of crazy to think that there are some talks about him potentially getting moved. But when you consider the organization that he plays for, this is kind of what they do. They move on from their elite arms and they continue to build for a quote unquote future that never ends up getting there, because the last time the Pittsburgh Pirates made the playoffs was 2015, where they lost to the
Those poor
Chicago
fans,
Cubs
man.
in the wild card game. So there wasn't even a deep playoff run. It was just a one game, one and done situation for the Pirates 10 years ago. And they're not, on track to be a playoff team anytime soon. Now, we all know baseball is one
Yeah.
of those sports that anything can happen at any given moment if players start figuring it out and they make the right adjustments. They could be a good team next year, but highly doubt that happening, especially
It's
if
a
they
couple year
consider.
process for them and for a couple of teams. They're not we can't pretend like they're alone on that, but it's just the way it seems like they're looking to run a profitable business or a business that funds itself as opposed to putting something into it to try and get something out of it and build a real fan base because those fans are waiting. They got loyal fans that are frustrated. It's not they got a great fan base over there.
Not sure how you could call Pittsburgh a small market city when they're a pretty big city, actually.
They act like
And
it.
it really all
Or
depends on
acts
what
like it.
the owner's willing to spend, especially in baseball. That's how we know it, right? It's what the owner's willing to do in order to make the team as best as possible. All these guys make a ton of
Yeah.
money, and it's always profits. And the Yankees are the same way too. We're not going to hide behind the fact that we're Yankee fans and the Steinbrenners don't do this. They want to be profitable. We understand that, but there's a line between being profitable and also winning
Salvage.
games. But the fact is that, we're hearing rumors that, and I'm not saying it's definitively going to happen. I don't see it realistically happening this season, but you have to consider the options that he could get traded. And there are teams
Absolutely.
out there who desperately would love to have his services for many different reasons. Not only is he electric arm, but he's on team control for the next 4.5 years, making, a fraction of what someone of his caliber would get, right, on a free agent open market
Oh
right
yeah.
now. So I wanted to
Fractions and
ask you, and I
understatement
wanted
for
to I
sure.
wanted to actually put together these trade packages that could happen, and I wanted to go back and forth on a who would say no situation, right? If the Pirates were really considering moving him and they got some offers and they had some of these GMs start calling up and putting together some packages, who
Yeah.
says no in these certain specific trades? You want to start off with doing one yourself, and then I can kind of rebound off of
Of
that.
course. Of course. I mean, we always have to start with the Yankees. The Yankees are always trying to they always make it seem like they're trying to wheel and deal, and this can be a real opportunity for the fans to get really excited about a guy who they know will be there for a very long time, and they have the prospect pool to do it. So I thought that a fair package, would be to give up um, Spencer Jones, Brock Selvage, Chase Hampton, Everson Pereira. I forgot to write Oswald Peraza and also Rafael Flores. So some guys that would probably play for them, maybe break out in a bigger role, and then a bunch of top prospects in a system that's one of the top ones in the league. I feel like that's a strong package just for Skeens, nothing else in the deal.
It's a lot to go back and forth, but I also was wondering with the Yankees in there what that would look like.
Hmm.
Um, in that situation, I would say yes, but I would always worry. Now, in any deal, if it's going to be the Yankees, you can figure that Spencer Jones is gone. So I had to include him in my trade package
Absolutely.
over, because there's no way, if the Yankees are determined to get Paul Skeens, then Spencer Jones is as good as gone. So my
Yeah.
package specifically for Paul Skeens looks like Spencer Jones, Chase Hampton, Roderick Arias, and Will Warren. So, these guys, they
Okay.
like to bolster their farm system more than they like to get MLB-ready players, but at least they're getting someone who could replace Skeens in that rotation as a solid mid-level rotation guy like Will Warren. And then obviously they're getting a bunch of great prospects from the system as well. So who would
Yeah.
say no?
For that, I mean, I don't think that either of these are things that the Yankees would say no to. I think that
So you're
Arias
saying
is
they
a
say yes
guy.
to both
I think the
scenarios?
Yankees say yes. When it comes to the Pirates, it really depends what they're looking for because you know that Spencer Jones will be fully controllable in contracts, and I think that that's part of the reason why the Skeens thing might not happen until next year, more realistically, so that they're not even paying him $1 million. And honestly, to bring in guys who like whether it's Will Warren or it's Oswald Peraza, their salaries will be very similar to what he's making. So maybe in a year. If he wins a Cy Young or something, they could somehow get a bigger package. Now, I don't think that would improve the package, but I think that they have a very interesting way of doing things. So I can't put anything past them. But your deal, I think, honestly, would be more attractive to the fans over there because I think Jones and Arias are a strong 1-2 for the package. I do think Hampton has potential to be better than Warren, but Warren has been really good when his number's been called this year, and he's an MLB starter. There's no doubt about that. But I think that when you look at it overall, I think that both packages, if there was like a system that you could grade the level of the package, I'd say they're pretty comparable in terms of the return. Now, I don't know. It would just be about what they prefer. Would you want another pitcher and a catcher, or would you want a shortstop, which is very attractive too? And you can see. I think that now I don't know if you would say which one would they prefer because I can't give you that answer because some teams covet teams number 5 prospects like they're their number 1, and some teams look at guys that that are the number 1 and say maybe he doesn't play like the style we play now. I think people look at Spencer Jones and the Yankee system and they're hoping to get an Aaron Judge out of it, and we're not going to make any promises if Spencer Jones leaves or comes up that he's ever going to be that good, but he's shown flashes that he could put some into the river over there.
I like Spencer Jones a lot, but there's nothing more I'd like to see than seeing Paul Skeens rock those pinstripes.
Oh yeah,
So and I'm an
and his
advocate
girl's
on
a Jersey
keeping
girl.
Spencer
His girl's a
Jones
Jersey girl, so
very much close to the Bronx. I think he could be one of the greatest hitters we have over the next 15, 20 years. But in this type of scenario, you got to make the right move. And I think that is to go get someone like Paul Skeens, have him for the next 4.5 years of team control, and then lock him up for a long-term deal. But let's shift over to the NL West because there's another juggernaut over there who always is looking to improve their team no matter how good they are on paper. The Dodgers will probably be in the mix if Paul Skeens is made available for trade. I don't think they have nearly as good of a farm system as the Yankees do, which kind of helps the Yankees in that type of situation. But they definitely have enough to make a package together that the Pirates could very well consider. And I think those guys are going to look like Dalton Rushing, their catcher. They obviously don't need him when they have Will Smith playing as well as he is. Nick Frasso in the pitching side. Jose De Paula, Landon Knack, who is already in the MLB, and he could be a ready starter and replace Skeens for them, and more likely probably some money or another player to be named later situation in LA. But this way, the Pirates are getting 4 different prospects, plus another one that's coming from the future or cash. 3 prospects and 1 MLB-ready player that kind of fills their voids. They could use someone who is a top-tier outfielder. So DePaula kind of fills that if he turns out to be as great as the Dodgers at least think he will be, and potentially package him in that type of deal. I know that you also believe the Dodgers are going to be a team that could contend right there and see what happens. Yes. I'm curious to know, though, and specifically with my mock scenario, who says no?
In your mock scenario, I honestly think both sides say no in that, just because I think that the Dodgers are kind of building on this deferral thing, and that with the I feel like as much as getting a guy like Skeens, I feel like giving a couple guys with already the injuries they have that are up already, like Rushing and the other one you said, Knack, that are both already up. I think that they're confident in their system, and they know that whether they have Skeens or not, they're going to be a World Series threat. So I think the Dodgers, it would be closer. It would be much closer for the Dodgers, in my opinion. Where I think that the Dodgers would probably rather give someone younger that they couldn't necessarily once one of their bench guys graduates to getting more money, they'll move on from them and bring one of these guys up, even if they're not a superstar. Whereas they can trade an 18-year-old that has superstar potential at that they could harness that into a trade and it be more of a mystery. And I think the Pirates say no. I just think that I think they would be taking on more money in that deal than Skeens is making, which is crazy. I think that I don't think that a return with Skeens will have more than one current major leaguer. I mean, maybe they'll call someone up right when they come, but I don't think that salary wise. I really think that even the the money in this would be something for them. And I think you look at Jones. I think DePaula is a better prospect than Jones. And it's no disrespect to Jones. It's just what I think DePaula could be is someone that you would want to get in a deal like this that can be an absolutely polarizing player, the face of your franchise, someone that 20 years down the line could be with all the love and the respect that a guy like Andrew McCutchen is getting now, and probably maybe even do it a little better. So he's definitely a guy, and I don't think that that's a bad offer. I think personally, even for my offer, I know we'll get into what you think once you hear it, but I think that it's the same sort of thing where I think that the Dodgers are pretty confident in what they're doing, and I still think that the it's let me backtrack. I think that the Pirates, we need to know if they're looking for a team of affordable guys or if they're looking for high upside guys. But with that being said, I think the I think to my offer as well, the Pirates would probably ask for another guy or two that are young and could become guys that they could have affordable for a long time. But for fair value, I guess I'll go right into it unless you had something else you wanted to add to that. I don't have any trouble if you do.
I thought you were going to add something else to there. I'm kind of shocked that you gave so much. I mean, I think Dalton rushing, in terms of if he was considered a prospect, yes, he's in the majors, but he's playing behind Will Smith, who they locked up for a long term. I don't see the Dodgers absolutely attached to rushing if it means getting Paul Skeens now. You're always looking to improve your team, and if there's an option to do it, just like we're considering the fact that they're going to be a player in a situation if Skeens becomes available. So why wouldn't rushing, who's I just pulled up his stats. He's got 629 OPS and 65 ABs. He's the backup catcher there.
Yeah.
The salaries, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not talking about even $1 million here, because if Knack and Rushing are now making the minimum, which I don't even think Rushing technically is because he got called up at some point during the season, so he's probably still on some sort of situation where, early enough where, yes, he probably has a proration, but you're talking about next season where both of Knack and Rushing are going to make around $800,000-$900,000 each. Same thing as Paul Skeens is going to do next season, unless the Dodgers or the Pirates or whoever team that has Paul Skeens says we'll give you a little bit more just to make you happy. We saw that with Mike Trout in his third year of arbitration. I don't know if that's going to exactly happen, but I'm curious to hear what pieces you put together, because at the end of the day, I think the Pirates are getting a great prospect in DePaula, and they're going to get Rushing, who's going to play every day for them. At least you would think he would play every day for them, and fill in some pitching holes that they would have as well. So I'm curious to know what your side looks like.
Yeah, so mine also has DePaula. It has Eduardo Quintero and Emil Morales, as well as
So you went
trying to
really
get.
young.
Hmm?
You went really young.
Yeah, and James Outman too.
Oh,
Someone
James.
who's just 2 years removed from a 23 home run year.
That
I
averages
think
out the ages, I think, a little bit when you put James Outman in the conversation.
exactly.
He's probably like 27, but since he's the oldest in all 8 of the players we just named, he boosts you back into the reality of age group that I'm in.
Exactly. I just think that for this offer, I think that the Pirates, they give Outman a try, but all the other guys are guys that they expect all to be made above major league contributors, be stars for them and carry them for a few years. And I think DePaula is that level of prospect, and I think if you get James Outman and you get him into a 250 hitter with 30 bombs, that could be a really nice return.
Yeah, if he can get there, for sure, I definitely agree. He's definitely had potential. I've seen him at times, and I'm like, I kind of like his game, but his injuries have really hurt him a lot over the last couple of years, which have held him back a little bit. We could probably go over a few other teams if we really wanted to, but I wanted to do just one more team each. They're going to be different at this point, since we did pick the Yankees and the Dodgers, but we do have some different teams to discuss. I'll go first here. I think there's a very good chance, if he does become available, that the team that's going to consider him is going to stay in that state of Pennsylvania. The Philadelphia Phillies, I really think, are a team that very much is going to consider making that move and adding to that rotation. The trade package sending back to Pittsburgh will look like pitcher Mick Abel, outfielder Justin Crawford, shortstop I guess you could say shortstop, third baseman, Aiden Miller, and another pitcher in Griff McGarry. That's the package I think Philadelphia sends over to Pittsburgh, and Skeens stays in the state of Pennsylvania. Maybe something for the state of Pennsylvania to be happy that at least this type of player is going to stay and produce, a lot of volume, monetarily speaking, for that state. So what do you think about that trade, and who says no?
I think that's a pretty good offer. I think that, to me, I was thinking about the Phillies, but I wasn't sure if they'd be willing to part with Painter and Aiden Miller. I think that that's the only way they could compete with the Yankees or the Dodgers prospect wise, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean your offer is bad. It doesn't mean they wouldn't take it. I do think that those are some older prospects, so I think that their timeline would start pretty soon.
Sure.
But I haven't checked on their numbers to see if they were. That's the type of deal that if all those prospects are playing well, you could put them all on the major league team in September and then just rock with them from there on. And I just think that if the Pirates were going to do a deal with Philly, that it would have to be Painter and Miller though. So I would say the Pirates would say no, but I do think the offer is pretty strong.
You say the Phillies would say no if Painter had to be included in that deal.
Well, I guess I would say for that specific offer, I would say the Pirates would say no. But then if the counter would be from the Pirates to put in Painter, then if the Phillies would say no, then I think that would be oil and water and just it wouldn't work out. And
I think it's always going to be very tough to get a team to say yes when you're trading Paul Skeens right in the deal. I mean, you're either giving up a lot or you're getting Paul Skeens, who's a great player, but the other side is not going to really want to do that because they know the type of value that they have in Paul Skeens. So it's always going to be difficult to see if a trade is actually going to happen at this point in their career. He's got so much value. It's not even how great he is. It's the fact that you have 4.5 years of team control. Cost effective for any team who's dealing with high payrolls and don't want to figure out how they're going to pay this guy. They don't have to really worry about it for at least 5 years basically.
Yeah, no, totally. And I do think that offer is strong. I do think that it could hang with the other offers. I just think the overall age of the players, I think, would be what would turn the Pirates away, because I don't think they think they're that close to contending to where these prospects, if they're all on fire, that you could catch lightning in a bottle, which I love saying that about the prospects. But the fact of the matter is that you have to still think about where you're at, as opposed to just
absolutely
you have to think about where you're at.
You don't want to just dismantle your farm system for one guy, and it could be great, it could not be great either at the same time. So it's never easy to line up the right prospects in a deal like this. You're talking about arguably the most electric arm in baseball right now. And if he's going to get moved, that whoever's going to have to pay is going to definitely pay the price. It's just a matter about what they're willing to actually give up and what the Pirates are willing to actually take. What's your third team that you have that you wanted to discuss, and then we can kind of get into some of the other baseball things we want to talk about?
I think that this would be a very attractive offer from the Seattle Mariners, who have continued to have their park with a platinum glove catcher, and just the rotations they've always found a way to have an amazing rotation, and it could be a move that could put them over the top to trade tonight's starter, actually, Logan Evans. I said that it was the Mariners, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, just want to be sure. Tonight's starter, Logan Evans, with Lazaro Montez and Harry Ford.
Okay. I mean, I feel like it's not as lucrative, but you have some guys like I really like Harry Ford. It's just unfortunate.
Like he found it too.
It's just unfortunate because he's actually hanging around the major league squad, and they might use him in certain games, but he technically wouldn't be called up because they have Cal Raleigh, obviously, so they don't really need the catcher position right now. So they could definitely consider making that move and be happy with it. Similar to why I put Dalton Rushing in that deal that would have involved the Dodgers, because they have Will Smith, who's playing also really well. So I could see that very well happening. I would say if you're asking me who says no, maybe the Pirates say no, only because if they're considering multiple offers, they're probably going to have something a little better on the table. I'm not saying it's a bad offer. I think it's a great offer, actually, and one that is considerable. But if they make that door open, there's going to be so many teams knocking. They're going to be offering, their greatest prospects. They're either their second or third best prospect as well, and then potentially an
Maybe even break
MLB-ready player that the
Yeah,
Pirates
exactly.
might say we could fill that in and use him for at least the time being. He's cost effective, a lot of things. I like the offer. I would think the Pirates would be more inclined. I would think the Mariners would love to get that deal done, and they would say
Yeah.
yes to that. It's just a matter about convincing Pittsburgh to put their stamp of approval and ship Skeens over to Seattle. So great package though overall. I think that's probably
Yeah.
one of the best ones they could put together. Maybe they add
Yeah.
somebody else, but it's not going to add
Like
as
the
much
switch
value.
pitcher, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, Pittsburgh, you know how they can get with these interesting type of different players. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see if Pittsburgh actually makes him available. And if he does, that's going to be breaking news because, we'll see so many teams knocking on their door trying to make a trade happen. And, of course, if something does happen, we'll bring it to you guys and we'll talk about the
Oh, yeah.
Skeens trade. We'd love to.
That
And
will
we
have its
hope
own full episode.
we hope it's in pinstripes. I mean, if he's a
Yeah.
Yankee, I'd be a pretty happy fan for a long time. So let's move on. Let's go to some more baseball that we're going to talk about. Now we're about to enter the All-Star break, so it's safe to start putting together a strong list for Rookie of the Year candidates in the American League and the National League. And I think we've seen some standout candidates, some that are probably going to definitively win, at least in the American League. And then the National League is a little bit more of a conversation to be had, kind of like it was last season, because Skeens, even though he did win, it was about qualifying whether or not he was going to have enough starts.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they said he did have enough starts. And I mean, what he
Rightfully
did
so.
last season was so wonderful that you had to kind of give it to him. But this season, it's different. Skeens is not a rookie. You have a bunch of new players, a new class. And I mean, I think it's a pretty much a throw in the bag in the American League at this point. Not saying it's definitive, but the way Jacob Wilson is playing for those Oakland A's, I mean, it's noticeable. He's batting .335. He's got an OPS around .840. He plays good defense, and he kind of does it all for a team like Oakland, who really needs it for a player, especially on the offensive side. I mean, I think he's going to run away with that American League Rookie of the Year, and I think the sports books also agree with me on that. And he's the betting favorites right now to win it. And you got to give a little bit of props to some of these other guys in there, especially one of his teammates. And I got to clarify because you did mention to me, you got to make sure you say his name and clarify how you say it. Nick Kurtz, and he's a first baseman on that team. He could make a run. He's playing really well right now. So you have a couple of guys in Oakland who can definitely, win it. I mean, you have one that's probable and the other one who's, giving the other one a run for his money.
Yeah, for sure. I think that as much as I think Kurtz is a great player and he'll be a great power player for a very long time, I do think that it's very rare that you see the Rookie of the Year hitting 250. So I think that if he got that even up to like 280 and he had 30 bombs, he'd give Wilson a real run for his money, especially Wilson left the game last night after getting hit with a pitch. So hopefully he's okay. One of the great contact players. He's already, which by the way, he's looked this year. He's already looked comparable to Luis Ariz in terms of just putting the ball in play and getting hits with. I mean, it shows with his 335 average. I think the 9 homers is a product of Sacramento. I think going to Vegas still has thin air, but I think that this park and the way the ball flies there, I don't think he'll be a 20. He won't be a 25 homer pace guy, but he'll be a very effective player for a very long time. Shout out to Cam Smith, the Astros too, even though I don't really like to give the Astros the love. Cam Smith has been on an absolute burner, and obviously in Colorado, he probably got like 10 hits in that series, and then I'm sure that in that Dodgers series where they whooped them, which I was okay with it because it was the Dodgers. I'm still not cool with them, but it was nice to see them humbled a little bit. He's up to 287. He's got 7 bombs, 39 ribbies. I think that it's gonna be a good one, but I think as long as Wilson stays healthy and keeps that average high, I think it's not really a contest. And then in the NL, I think if Miso really keeps pitching like this, I think Drake Baldwin and Augustine, who are playing really well, especially as catchers, I think that their names will fade very quickly. As much as I'm a fan of Drake Baldwin, and of course Yankee grown Augustine Ramirez, got some love for him too. Just Jacob is just very impressive, and I know you love the double Jacob.
I do love the double Jacob, but the question becomes: is he going to qualify for enough games? Because he's only pitched 5 starts. He got 5 decisions out of them, and he's pitched brilliantly in those 5 starts for the Brewers. But at this point, he probably will qualify as long as he stays healthy. He will qualify,
Yes.
and if he does qualify, it makes the most sense. He's pitching really well, and if he stays on the path that he's on, he's going to most likely win. I do love Drake Baldwin, and I do love Agustin Ramirez. I find it funny though because if for some way that Mizrachi is not able to win Rookie of the Year, doesn't qualify, or he falls short for some other reasons, Ramirez is batting about 250 this season, and you just said that it would be hard for a Rookie of the Year to win if they bat 250, but it's case by case. It also depends on how the other rookies in your league are playing. And Drake Baldwin's having a pretty good season, but he also plays solely against right-handed pitchers, and he is really platooning the position right now. So he, as much as he might qualify, you might take a few points away from him just for those things. And then you kind of look at Ramirez like he's doing it all. He's got, 13 home runs, roughly about 50 ribbies, playing really well. OPS close to 800. So it'll be a tight race in that National League. If Mizrachi falls short and then you're kind of down to Baldwin and Ramirez, it'll be interesting to see who kind of comes out on top in the National League. The American League, and of course everything is based around health, but if they stay healthy, Wilson is running away with it in the American League and Mizrachi in the National League, and then you'll have two Jacobs winning Rookie of the Year in the American and the National League, which I love for some weird reason. I find that absolutely amazing. Two people with the first names. Yeah, it is.
I want to tell you a cool stat that might change things over time on the way that looks, because that's definitely true. But Baldwin in his 35 at bats, I know it's a very small sample size, has a 933 OPS against lefties with 3 bombs, and I know that that's a very small sample size, but I think that he could get to 500 ABs if even if he hangs around his 270, maybe even a little lower because he's at 274 for the year. I think that if he hangs around 270, 260 against lefties and he keeps 270, 280 against righties, I think that he could get to 500 ABs, and then that wouldn't really be an issue. What do you think?
I have him on my fantasy team, so I'm hoping he produces well regardless of who he's facing on the mound. But he struggled start of the season, and then he started getting more opportunity and started having put together a few stretches that were really great and brought that batting average up. It kind of dipped down a little bit, but he's also just getting more at bats now overall. So it starts evening out. Baseball does that, right? And the numbers never lie at the end of the day. But he's still a great catcher. He's a rookie, and he'll definitely make some noise for that Rookie of the Year. If for some reason Mizrachi can't qualify or just fall short, then you'll see a battle of the catchers in the National League for Rookie of the Year. And it's fun. It's fun. It's very fun, especially when it's in the same division. It's also fun when you have in the American League 2 guys on the same team who are competing for that same award.
Yeah,
so
always cool.
We'll see what ends up happening. We still have a ton of baseball to be played. The second half is about to start. The All-Star break is coming up soon, and then we'll kick off the second half, and then we'll see how these players at least round out their seasons and who will end up winning, and we'll of course bring that to you guys. I have an important question to ask you though. Another baseball thing, since we're doing a full day of baseball and it's a new segment that we could kind of talk about really quickly. There's a ton of great baseball players out there who have had some of the most miraculous seasons and miraculous careers, but they've fallen short of winning a World Series. And if you had to name the top 3 players to have had great careers but have not won a World Series, who would you pick those 3 players to be?
Absolutely. So number 1, Ken Griffey Jr. Number 2 would be Ted Williams. Number 3 would be Barry Bonds. What about you?
I would have to agree with Ken Griffey. I'd have to agree with Ted Williams. And then I look at Barry Bonds, and I want to agree. But there are so many other great players who have played and they haven't won. I mean, you could name off lists like Rod Carew and Ernie Banks, Mike Trout, who's still playing and might be the greatest player we've seen with our eyes in our generation who hasn't won. And that's just an unfortunate situation that he's in with the Angels over there. But you can name off so many different guys who have done it. Ichiro too, right? Ichiro has played amazing in Japan before coming to the MLB and then playing amazing in the MLB. He won Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same season, which was incredible. I mean, the guy's a hitting guru. But Barry Bonds, you look at him and I don't want to take away from the fact that he did the steroids, but it's always something that hangs over his head. So putting him in that top 3 category, it's tough. Now, some people will say, Harry, you're crazy. And I love it when you guys call me I'm crazy because Barry Bonds is a great player, and some might say he's the greatest player to ever play. No, not stipulations regarding if they won a World Series or not, just overall. But when you're that great and you don't win, and you played for some pretty average teams for those San Francisco Giants and Pittsburgh Pirates, it shows, for lack of better words, that you were great, but you really didn't do much else. And that's why you leave Mike Trout out of the conversation, right? Because Mike Trout, in today's baseball, where pitchers are better than they ever were, better than they were in the 80s and the 90s, and for him to do what he did against many of those pitchers, it shows what type of caliber player he is. And it's just unfortunate that he just, played for the Angels his whole career and now is battling these injuries and is kind of a shell of what he was for the first 12 years of his career, winning 3 MVPs and, just making stellar plays in center field. I would say Ernie Banks, right? And I was thinking about this for most of today, actually. It was running through my head. Was if Barry Bonds deserves to be in that number 3 spot, in my eyes at least. And I think, Ernie Banks is what he did in the 50s up until, he played from 1953 to 1971. And he was a specimen that not many people saw back in the 50s. Changed the game of baseball a lot in that era. And for him not to win a World Series, I felt like was a shame. And one of the greatest players overall, for sure. I mean, a lot of conversations will say Ernie Banks. So I'll put him at number 3, and I'll leave Barry Bonds out of that, and I'll keep him at number 4.
Okay. I don't think that's. I mean, Ernie Banks is a legend, so it's hard to put negative on his name or in any way. Even if I think Barry Bonds deserves it more, I'm bringing up Ernie Banks. I'm not gonna even bat an eye at that because there's so many great players that whether they want a ring or not just are absolute legends, and he's one of them.
Well, here's the thing.
In that city.
He played for a historical franchise and was nicknamed Mr. Cub, but not only did he never win a World Series, he never even made the playoffs for someone who won 2 MVPs.
That's crazy.
Over 500 home runs and was just an absolute legend for one of the most historical franchises in baseball. Just not to win, it just shows you that in the 50s, the 60s, the Cubs were really just a lackluster organization with one really great player on there who, considering how bad of a situation he was, still put himself in those positions to be one of the greatest players in baseball without having, the umbrella of doing steroids over your head. So, I think at the end of the day, we agree on the number 1 and the number 2 options. Ken Griffey, historically, some people think he's the greatest baseball player ever. And then Ted Williams, I mean, what he did for the Red Sox, and I don't want to kind of get into the greats of what he did, but you have to know that he was just a great baseball player, and what he did for the Red Sox was pretty incredible. So I think at the end of the day, it's a shame that some of these players, they don't win rings, even though they're considered some of the greats, but that's the way sports works. It's not just baseball. It happens in football. It happens in basketball and hockey and every other sport where you're considered a great, but you just can't get over the hump. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way sports works, and it's also part of a reason why sports are so beautiful. We're fortunate enough today, actually, Ben, we have 2 fan questions. So I really would like to get through them because we missed one last week, and I know Matt wanted to ask a question, but we do have a second question from another viewer, and I'm excited to answer these this week and go on our merry ways and salute you guys all until we see each other next week.
All right, well, we do have 2 questions here. Should I go with Matt's first, or do you want to do the guest?
Well, honestly, Ben, whatever you want to do.
All right, well, I missed Matt's question last week, so I'm going with Matt's first.
Okay, let's do it.
Matt says, what's your Yankees trade deadline wish list?
Oh, I like it. Nice, short, and sweet. Listen, I feel like whenever I'm getting asked this question, I feel like a child, waiting for Christmas and Santa to come down and drop presents. I have a long wish list for what the Yankees should do, but let's start with the obvious, which is they desperately need someone to play third base. We talked about this multiple times, and I'll even go back and say there was that one player that I absolutely hoped that they would target and make a trade happen for, Alec Boehm. Probably not going to happen at this point. but they need to consider someone to play that position because it's been a hole all season. They've tried multiple different avenues to consider options to play third base. They had Oswald Peraza play. His defense is wonderful. His offense is not. And then they just DFA'd DJ LeMahieu, who was playing a lot of that third base too. So that position has definitely gotten thinner, and they definitely need some production because at this very moment, the depth chart looks like Oswald Peraza and nobody else. So that's what they realistically need. I mean, they could use another starter because they just lost Clark Schmidt. They could use some bullpen help too. But if you're asking me what my number one thing would be, is to add a third baseman.
And I'll go a step further and say my wish list is someone that nobody's talking about getting traded, but with the way the Guardians are playing, I'm begging that somehow we get Jose Ramirez.
Ugh. And that's a good It's like a It's like a of like it's never gonna happen, but you really hope it does.
Yeah, no, I definitely do.
He's a special player, switch hitter, plays amazing defense, can change the game offensively. If Jose Ramirez is a Yankee, I will kiss Brian Cashman's feet and thank him for being one of the greatest GMs. And even though I might not necessarily feel that all the times, I would definitely feel that if a move happened where Jose Ramirez became a New York Yankee. So just like I would if Paul Skeens was a Yankee.
Any grapes would be gone on my end.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the type of move where not only is it relatively cost-effective considering how great of a player he is, but you won't have to worry about that position for the next 4 years, realistically. And you know the type of production you're going to get from Jose Ramirez. Considering he's a switch hitter, as a lefty over there, he would absolutely mash. And we say that about a lot of lefties, but, I mean, he's hit so many doubles, and he's probably the doubles leader for the Cleveland Guardians. But he's going to hit, and that's a relatively big ballpark. I mean, last year, actually, they kind of brought the dimensions in a little bit, and we saw Cleveland mashing more home runs. But Yankee Stadium and that, right field porch, that's even smaller. And he likes to tape those balls down that foul pole, and I'm certain we're going to see, if he's a Yankee, a lot more home runs from Jose Ramirez. It's
very clear that he knows when to pull the ball, and he likes to pull the ball.
He knows what he's doing with the bat in his hands. That man is a legend. Hopefully it happens. Realistically, probably not. But, I mean, maybe more realistic than Bohm because of the fact of, contracts and where the teams are in the standings at this point. Maybe the Guardians feel like they could still make a run, but at the end of the day, they're struggling, and they're, I think, 6 games under 500. So it's a tough division right now with some of those teams, including the Tigers, doing so well in the Central. So we'll have to see what the Guardians end up doing. Are they buyers or are they sellers at this deadline? We have another question from Justin J. Musey 30. Ben, you want to read that one off for us too?
Yeah, man.
Thank you for the question. I'll say thank you before the question's even read.
Yes. I just want to say one last thing about that. That in reality, what Brian Cashman is going to do, he's probably going to get Josh Young from the Rangers, who they just sent down for struggling, and that's what he loves to do, to get the embattled top prospects and get them on the roster. And I don't know if I would hate that, but I feel like I want something with Thump. All right, carry on, Musey.
All right, so we have JMUSI 30. Musey? JMusey 30. What are your thoughts on Jokic? Oh,
That's Jokic.
Jokic. Thank you.
Jokic.
Thank you. Sorry.
Joker. No, you're good.
I know who that is. What are your thoughts on Joker not extending and waiting? Do you think signing with the Lakers is on the horizon?
I like a little bit of difference. We got a little basketball now and a full day of baseball over here. I mean, realistically, it means that he's leaving his options open, which any basketball player should do, especially in today's NBA. It doesn't really mean
other players,
right? Well, those guys are locking themselves up because they just won a championship.
I'm not allowing them to.
Oh, you're not? Yeah. Well, I wouldn't I wouldn't blame you for wanting them to stick around because they're a great group of players over there. But he wants to keep his options open because there's a lot of ways you look at this, right? Of course, he wants to see how the Nuggets do this season and evaluate what happens next season and see what moves they make. But second is also capitalizing on signing a bigger deal next year because that's the way it works. He'll be able to sign a larger contract next season if he waits another year instead of signing one right now. Now, we see players who sign these extensions. We saw SGA do that too. But when you are SGA and you just won a championship and your team throws you the full max of what you can sign and you already feel like there's no place else you really need to go, then wonderful. But when you're Jokic and you've done what you've done as well, win a championship, now it's been a couple of years since you've won a championship, you keep those doors open when your contract situation opens up around this time and you wait and see what happens. It's not meaning that he's gone and he's leaving the Nuggets. Could it happen? Sure. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But they're those Lakers, he could look at Luka and say, I'd love to play with him and see how that ends up working out. LeBron's got 1 year left. They're going to be able to make it happen next season. So it'll be interesting to see how Jokic takes his career after this season.
His fellow European. I think that I feel like it's one of those things where it's pretty clear that they like each other, and you don't really see Jokic get chummy with too many guys. So the Lakers is something that could be cool, and with the new owner, they're probably ready to move on from LeBron when his contract's over. Not any disrespect to LeBron, I just think the new regime's gonna want a new face, and I think that they'll be totally European, trying to completely sell Lakers jerseys on the streets of Slovenia and all of the countries over there, and just try and get Luka jerseys and Serbia. That's the other one I couldn't think of off the top of my head. Sorry, Joker. Even though you're not watching yet, you'll watch someday. I guarantee it. But anyway, I think that it would be cool to see them together. A lot of people have gripe with the Lakers. I just want to see good basketball, and I think that having two incredibly dynamic European players together would create some special moments and would be a threat for a championship every single year.
Well said. Justin, thank you for that great question. We'll definitely monitor the Jokic situation in Denver and see where that ends up playing out. But thank you guys for helping us put together a wonderful episode. The reason I say thank you for helping us put together this wonderful episode is because without your commentary, we wouldn't be able to put together this great episode. And so I wanted to thank you guys for that and, set you guys on your merry ways until next week. And of course, Josh will remind you all where you could find us and where you could let us know that we are absolutely out of our minds and our takes are crazy and we should never talk about sports again, because even though you might say that, we're going to continue to talk about sports and we're going to bring that comment to life and discuss it on the show.
Absolutely. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Appreciate the new comment, Musey. Appreciate Matt with yours as always, and hope you guys keep telling people to throw a comment on there, throw a view on an episode, and we're still looking to have guests always, so we're always down for that.
And let's not forget our best part of the show, our famous Yogiisms. And this week's Yogiism, Josh, for you to rate is, you wouldn't have won if we'd beaten you.
I feel like it's the same thing every week. He's right there, but if I'm not laughing out loud, it's not a 10. Sorry, Yogi. But giving him a 9. But when this guy speaks, when he's speaking 9s every single day, I feel like that's such a win of a life.
It's so much wisdom coming out of this man's mouth. We miss him dearly, and we'll have plenty of Yogiisms for the rest of our lives to just look back on. Thank you guys again for tuning into this week's episode of Beyond the Score podcast, and we look forward to seeing you next week.